morning, everyone, and welcome to today's weekly webinar. So just want to introduce our topic for today. It is Smart Disruption, how AI is transforming Proptech. And the session will dive into how AI is no longer just a buzzword, but how it's actively reshaping the ways we design, manage, buy, and sell real estate and our businesses. I'm your host, Neil Peterson. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief at rei.co.za. And for those unfamiliar with REI, they've been the trusted voice for South Africa's real estate investors, industry, and professionals since 2007. And our mission is simple: to inform, connect, and empower our audience with practical insights, expert commentary, and the tools to build long-term success for their businesses and investments. And we do this through our monthly flagship digital magazine, Real Estate Investor, our online platform, rei.co.za, our weekly webinar and events, our video interviews, our newsletters, our live seminars, and of course, our joint anchor industry event, which is the annual Reside Conference and Awards. And this takes place on the 9th and 10th of July. It's a live event at the Sandton Convention Center under the theme of Transforming Spaces, Enriching Lives. And this event brings together industry thought leaders, innovators, and investors to explore strategies that advance the residential sector in particular, but also from affordable housing, smart urban design, Proptech to infrastructure and finance. And together with REI, Reside also aims to uplift the narrative around residential development and property development, Proptech, and driving smart decisions and long-term wealth creation. For more info, to go to the conference, just go to the resideconference.co.za. Just a few housekeeping notes for everybody that's joined us live. All registered attendees will receive a link to the full replay, and it will also be available on rei.co.za. Questions are welcome. You just use the Q&A box at any time, and we'll get as many as we can and deal with as many as we can during the live panel discussion at the end. So without further ado, let's meet our expert panelists. So we're joined by four brilliant minds leading real estate, Proptech, and AI innovation. First of all, I'm going to introduce Sneha Kumari. She's the CEO of Merlin AI. She's based in the US, and she's obviously joining us live from LA in the early pre-dawn hours this morning. And Sneha is a trailblazer, transforming modular and prefab construction using lean AI-driven systems. So Sneha, would you like to introduce yourself so early this morning to our audience, please? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Neil. It's a pleasure being here and talk about something that really is my favorite topic. My experience really lies in supply chain for the most part of my career. I actually started in manufacturing before moving on to construction, and I did some infrastructure construction before, paving my way towards modular and manufactured construction. Originally an operational excellence and Lean Six Sigma leader, I've now moved my career towards building technology that made sense for this industry. I have managed tech stacks and enterprise ERPs for the most part of my career and was never really satisfied at the state of how that really worked for and how little customizable it was really for the industries we work from. So, yes.
Perfect. No, please carry on, Sneha. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, excited to be here. Merlin is an AI-powered enterprise software, primarily looking at construction industry, and I would love to show a quick video to demonstrate a little bit about what we are doing at Merlin.
Okay, great. We're going to give you that opportunity now. Just want to get through to the introductions of the rest of the team. Our next guest here is Jess Moyer. She's Director of Strategy and Research at Cushman and Wakefield Broll, and a global leader in data-driven real estate insight with experience across many continents. So, Jess, would you like to briefly say hello to the audience, please?
Thanks, Neil. Morning, everyone. Thanks also for the opportunity to be here. Looking forward to the discussion and to learning from the other panelists as well. Yeah, as you said, I'm Director of Strategy and Research at Cushman and Wakefield Broll. We work with investors and occupiers on their property portfolios in South Africa, across Africa, and through Cushman and Wakefield globally. So we don't own property, we don't develop property, but we manage property and we help the users of property. So we're very much a services company. So my background, originally an engineer, a mechanical engineer. So I know how how property works as a physical asset. Don't ask me why, but I have a master's in property investment, an MBA, and just recently a master's in data science, strategy and leadership. So I still don't know the answer to why does anybody need 3 master's degrees, but it does give me an idea of property as an investment vehicle, the business of property, and now the science behind data and AI, which is what I'm really interested in here.
Wonderful. Good. I think we're going to have to invite you to some of our property investment sessions as well. But it's great having you here, Jess. And I also pick up the Aussie accent over there. So from Australia originally, but based in South Africa in Cape Town. Wonderful having you here, Jess. Brian, you can switch on your cam. Now, Brian is sitting in Zimbabwe. So we got US, we got Zimbabwe, we got South Africa. We're all around the world. Brian, I don't know whether you can hear me. I can see you are online, but you can put on your cam. Brian is the CEO of MyWell Space and Chief Growth Officer of Hoom. He's a strategic investor and Proptech leader helping South African retail brands. And so I don't know whether, Brian, if Brian, you're going to show face. I see Brian is definitely online. So Brian, do you want to come and join us and introduce yourself? Okay, what we'll do, we'll go straight over to Eric. And Eric Niednab is the co-founder of IntelliWeave AI MetaPress, and his company is called Wide Dangle Apps. And they are a multi-platform tech innovator bringing real-world AI into property tools and applications. So Eric, great to have you with us as well. Would you please share a brief introduction of yourself, please?
Hi, Neil. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Just myself, I had a long corporate career, left, and then together with my business partner, Josh, we founded Wide Angle Apps about 13, 14 years ago. And we've been moving through the different phases of the tech and have always tried to stay abreast of the latest developments. We started in the early days of native apps, iOS, Android apps, moved through, got into the NFT, cryptocurrency space for a number of years and built some applications for international companies in that area. Then moved on into the sort of metaverse phase, developed a product called Vadim Spaces for a company called Vadim in the US, and then built our own product, which is more of an immersive website platform called MetaPress. And recently, over the last, I'd say, 2 years, we've been in the AI space and have developed the product you mentioned called IntelliWeave AI, which has the aim of making it easy for people to integrate AI into their websites, but more importantly, integrate AI into their existing applications and utilize it in that way. So, yeah, not a property specialist per se, but, being close to it for a while.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for that, Eric. I know that Brian's having a little bit of problems in tech sitting in Zim. I don't know whether Zim's let him down or whatever, but we'll see. He is going to join us, apparently. He's just working through the tech problems in the back end over there. But Eric, great. Thank you for joining us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give each one of you, because we've got enough time and we've done it specifically to give you the opportunity, starting with you, Sneha. Maybe take us through, let's look at a demo. Let's talk about your product. Let's see it in operation. So it's an opportunity to share and demo your product. So over to you, Sneha, if you can maybe share your screen.
Yeah, I'll just go through a few seconds video to give you a glimpse of what we are doing here.
Just need to up your sound over there, but it's all good. I don't know what we got an audio issue here. You can. You're welcome to talk through it as well, Sneha, if you want to. Awesome. Thanks for that, Sneha. Okay, we got the sound. We'll make sure we'll get the audio onto the recording there. Jess, I know you got something to share with us as well.
Thanks, Neil. Let me just share this one. Just a minute. Okay, so very, very brief, 3 slides, that's it. So as I mentioned, we're a property services company. So we don't have a product to sell as such, but what we do is provide services to our clients. So as I said, we've been providing services to property owners and property occupiers for 50 years now. Hopefully we'll keep doing so for another 50. And one of the things that we often see, and I'll probably say this a couple of times today, is that AI is just data with fancy mathematics behind it. And we often see that data problems are limiting a client's ability to really proactively manage their portfolio and drive the maximum benefit from it. So a few of the challenges that we often see, incomplete data, there's no visibility of, say, critical lease events, nor no portfolio movement history. We see manually captured leases and rental data, which results in, at best, slow decisions and at worst, incorrect decisions. We see data that's not prepared for regulatory compliance, and this isn't just POPI, it's also lease accounting standards, whether it's IFRS 16 or ASC 842. We see disparate and static data sets that really limits the transparency and ability for our clients to derive insights. Low levels of data availability and sharing, again, reduces the ability to really collaborate on strategies and planning. And keeping small, isolated data sets creates all sorts of problems. And this is a really big theme, I think, for me, is that the lack of integration. It's a thing we see in property a lot, and I'll probably touch on that a little bit later. So what we do is try and help our clients build solutions that give them better information quality, better transparency, faster decision-making. They can anticipate trends to inform planning and strategy, identify risks and opportunities. And what's another really, really important thing is the integration of data, whether it's data in itself or AI, with resources and skills and people on the ground. So what we'll do, we'll help our clients scope what they need, what their requirements are. Do you need an IFRS 16 module? Do you need a payments platform? Do you need a workflow solution? And we'll help them design that system and set it up. And, whether it has to be integrated with a finance system, whether it has a finance module within it, we'll help them design the solution. and then also help them go through the procurement and vendor selection and management. We are platform agnostic. We don't care what the solution is as long as it's the right solution for you. So we're not bound to any particular technology. We're not going to sell you a particular technology platform. It's working with you to get the right answer. So that's what we do in this space.
Perfect. Thanks very much for that, Jess. We'll get into the discussions, and I just want to tell the audience we had to get slightly different today. We wanted to give everyone an opportunity just to set some background first about today's topic. So, Brian, I'm so glad to see you. You're back online. So, if you can do an intro about yourself, and then maybe just take us through some of your products on your side. So, it's over to you, Brian.
Thank you so much, Neil. It's a pleasure to be here. Apologies. My laptop decided to do its updates just as we were starting. CEO and founder of Obsidian Investments, which is a buyer-focused agency that helps clients outside of South Africa invest in properties within South Africa. So I'm actually currently sitting in our offices in Zimbabwe because a lot of our buyers are from Zimbabwe. And then also I'm the Chief Growth Officer of a platform called Hoom, which is the real estate Tinder. So we've designed a platform that matches real estate sellers with agents of their choosing based on any of their preferences, be it location or languages as well, because the traditional challenges in the market is sometimes English is not the main language for all parties dealing with a property transaction. So now through this platform, if you want an agent to sell your property that speaks a specific type of language, our platform just helps you match with the best professional in your area.
Wonderful. Great. Well, it's wonderful having you here. And so last but not least of the presentations, I'd like to ask Eric Ninaba. And Eric, do you want to just take us through your products and your demo? I know you've got a demo for us.
Sure. Thanks, Neil. Let me quickly just get this up here and just share my screen. Just going to find the right one. Yes. Sorry, Neil, I just want to share the entire screen here quickly.
We've got it. We've got it all. Yeah.
Have you got it? Okay,
yes,
great.
We can see it. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. What are you seeing at the moment?
Yeah, we just need to enlarge your screen there. Just full screen. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Can you guys 100%. See that?
Yes, okay, yes, we can.
Just quick slide. I've spoken about ourselves, so I'm not going to do that again. I mean, basically, what the key product I'd like to just discuss today, and context is IntelliWeave, and what that does is a platform that allows you to implement AI into an application or website, create a knowledge base, manage a knowledge base, manage the LLMs that you're using in a low-code way. So it allows people to choose and use the product. The two key things really is putting AI onto your website very easily, and the second one is providing all the plumbing and the tools to implement AI into your application. It's centered around for putting it into your application. It's centered around an SDK, and around that you can pick your LLMs. You can manage all your documents, the various types of documents you have. You can set up the interaction, voices or text with, and use a multitude of services for that. And then the key thing is configuring actions that the AI can take, tours and action flows within applications. So that's really that. I'm not going to talk through the value chain. This is just sort of my little thing on the value chain of property. And when you look at that, AI can be used across the entire value chain and probably even combine parts of the value chain utilizing AI. So that's just the one bit. Then I want to quickly show you a video just of a quick flight booking demo just to show the AI taking actions in the application. And this is all of these actions you can see there. You don't really need a UI in an application to interact with the AI.
So all the transactional side is all done by voice. So speaking literally into the app.
Correct, Neil. Yeah. So this is just a demo of a voice interaction.
Right.
So, and this is not, video is not sped up. This is actually just as it's happening. And you'll see it'll come back with flights. You know, and that just, I mean, if you, well, that was that. And then just one last thing quickly. IntelliWeave gives you a dashboard where you can manage all the various parts of the AI, the conversations that users are having and tweaking the thing, your personas, which combines, you know, how the AI behaves, interacts, the language models that get chosen, and you can pick any language model. It provides analytics, your voice, your API keys, and everything else. So you can manage your knowledge bases. You can scan website content and use that, and it automatically creates a knowledge base for you for whatever it is that you're doing. So, for example, you've got a knowledge base with different entries. The AI, the LLM model, actually utilizes the entries in this knowledge base, which is augmenting any other data that you might have. So you've got complete flexibility around what you build. And then here you can see I've got AI built into a metaverse environment. And I can say, for example, please, let me just show you this quickly. You'll see there's a UI here. You've got information there. My name's Eric. I can say, please change my name to Joe Cool. And it should go and change that. So you can see the AI is actually taking actions within applications. So if you go there, you can see it's changed the name. And I'm just going to do one other thing. I'm going to say change my avatar to something fun. And it will then go, and you can see it's changing my avatar. And I'll say send up an emoji. There we go, and it's dancing. So that's it from my side, Neil. But what I'm just trying to demonstrate here is that the AI can be integrated into any application, web-based application, and can take actions and source data from external sources as well as the own information that you put in. So thank you very much for that, Neil. Appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Awesome. Great. Now, thank you all. I think it's we pretty much started our webinar very different. We thought we'd set the scene by doing demos from each one of you. Thank you all for doing that. I want to get into our conversation. Sneha sitting here. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And Sneha, we're gonna bring you in first, and maybe just tell us, how does AI-powered data analysis improve accuracy? I know you showed, and also efficiency in modular construction, planning, and execution.
Absolutely. Thanks, Neil. So fundamentally, AI is pretty much changing the way we plan, execute this whole concept of modular construction. Traditionally, project planning relied on fragmented spreadsheets, historical guesswork, also a lot of human judgment involved, which often would lead to delays, cost overruns, inefficient sequencing. And as we all know, modular construction is all about moving from project-based construction to productizing construction. And delays and inefficiencies is exactly going to cost us, because the opposite of that is what the value modular construction brings to the table. So what we are doing at Merlin is we are leveraging AI to create a unified brain across this whole life cycle of construction we see, right? Like ingesting live data, whether it's from your estimating to procurement, your site progress, financials. It's just about using predictive algorithms to identify any risks, optimizing schedules, and recommending any proactive, smarter decisions in real time and over time, like, utilizing AI to forecast procurement delays before they can even impact your assembly line, right? Or your floor scheduling, or flag your subcontractor errors ahead of time, or any mismatches that might have caused you on-site bottlenecks. Like it'll also help a lot of modular builders simulate multiple build scenarios to find the most efficient path forward, and that will really impact your project timelines by a good, decent 10 to 15%. So ultimately, this level of intelligence will reduce, again, guesswork, eliminate rework, and enable teams to shift from reactive to a proactive execution. And that's going to be an absolute game changer for modular construction, where precision and timing is everything.
Modular construction is a growing trend I've seen in the world, and we wish South Africa would adopt a lot more. So I think this is certainly going to play a very important role. So thank you for sharing that, Sneha, and thank you for coming so early in the morning. I know that's crazy time, 3:00 in the morning, but we're going to see you live at the Reside conference, and that's in Johannesburg in 3 weeks' time. So we hope to meet you in person there. So I'm going to move on to Jess. Jess, so what are some of the use cases you are seeing in how AI is being used to manage property portfolios, both locally and internationally?
Thanks, Neil. And well done, Sneha. I don't think I'm that coherent at 3 a.m., so impressive. So, Neil, I think there's sort of 3 big areas that we're seeing in terms of AI trends in 2025. So the first is multimodal AI. So that's where AI can process multiple types of data. So that's text, images, audio, video, sensors. An example that we see of multimodal AI would be Cubic, which is sort of automated architecture that combines LLMs, Power Visual outputs, and provides an end-to-end designing for floor plates, for layouts. You get a space walkthrough, videos. You still need humans in the loop to apply the inputs to feed the AI, and more importantly, to verify the outputs. Another good example of this is sensors. Sensors covering things like air quality, occupancy, heat detectors, BMS. Previously, it was only larger offerings in this space, but lots of startups in this area now. So we're seeing functions where users can ask questions and customize the data displays for reporting and actually plug into the sensors. So that's the first big trend, so multimodal AI. Second big trend is hyper-specialized AI solutions, and these perform very specific tasks within a narrow domain. So, for example, bots used for monotonous administrative tasks. So think like, chatbots on the front end by the user. And then the third big area really is this rise of agentic AI. And this is really, really coming through strongly now. So this will autonomously plan, make decisions, and take actions to achieve specific goals. And this really is the next big thing. It makes decisions, it carries out tasks that can be used for lease administration, for research, even financial processes. And we're seeing offerings, like the Salesforce and Workdays have these now. But yeah, I think that's really our house view on the 3 global trends that we're seeing in AI in 2025.
Excellent. Good. And while you were chatting there, Jess, I've just seen our audience has doubled, because we normally have a webinar from 12 until 1. And yes, we did start a half an hour earlier today, just to let our audience know, because we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to demo their product. You will be able to view that when we actually have the recording. So don't worry about that. Okay, so Brian, I want to bring you in. how are your investor clients using AI insights to guide smarter property decisions? I don't know, and Brian, by the way, sitting out in Zimbabwe, for those that have just joined us now.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. AI as a whole has certainly changed the landscape and how we conduct this. You can imagine having South Africa as the ideal hotspot in the African region where global investors are looking to invest in. AI has just enabled buyers to be able to make conscious decisions without necessarily traveling across the board.
Okay, we got a bit of a delay there, certainly from Brian. So it's sitting outside. I know he's had some tech issues.
To a global audience without them having to be hopping on and off flight. Down as Obsidian, we literally saw our client base quadruple because now, through the use of technology, through the use of AI, we were able to actually have live inspections of our properties and show them to a global audience, have them walk through each of our offerings and be able to make fully informed decisions on which property acquisitions they would like to move ahead with. So virtual tours have definitely played a significant role in that. Another thing is when you look at a foreign-based client that's living out in China, most of them perhaps have never been to South Africa. However, the price point and a whole bunch of other things speak into an investment that's ideal to them. The lack of information has often held back a number of investors from actively participating in the real estate market of South Africa. But through AI, now they've got real-time access to real information, to data and case studies that just give them less anxiety when they're making a decision to buy a property in South Africa. So, I've dealt with a number of clients that have bought countless properties in South Africa and till date have not been to South Africa entirely. And they were only able to do that and sleep at night because one, they've been able to walk through virtually through the properties that they're buying. And number two, they've got real market insights in the palm of their hand in front of them that help them make decisions. Another element where obviously AI comes and plays a real big role in is around price counseling. Now you can imagine a person that's buying while in Zimbabwe, like I am currently. They've never been to South Africa. They as much as don't necessarily understand, what the rand value equates to because they are sitting in a country where they use the US dollar or any other currency of that nature. Now, with AI, they get to understand a bit more what the rand terminology looks like, what it actually gets them. They get to see what past sale prices have been in certain areas. All that data is dealt with by AI, and that way they can make offers on properties that are realistic to them from an affordability perspective, but realistic to the market in terms of not being able to overprice or pay too much for certain properties. Then the last element that I think plays a huge role that I'd like to touch on as well is because a lot of buyers that will be buying into South Africa that are based abroad are perhaps not entirely buying for primary residence. They're buying this to rent out so as to get some form of income out of that property. So to be able to distinguish what exactly their rental returns would be is something very vital in their decision making. And AI has made it very easy for them to be able to as much as explore what the parameters of their rental income potential looks like, especially with Airbnb being a big talking point, because markets such as Cape Town and Durban and any other coastal city certainly drives Airbnb as an attraction point for the foreign buyer. And now through the use of AI, they're able to see realistic figures of what their returns will look like, and that entices them to make more active decisions.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Brian. So, Eric, I mean, from your experience developing platforms, what are the core data models that power effective AI in tech businesses and obviously in particular to real estate now that we're talking about?
Yeah, Neil, thanks. I mean, I think one of the big challenges is data, and I think Jess alluded to it in an introduction. Is what we find is that data sources are spread across the organization, and they in all kinds of forms. They in documents, they in databases, they are in people's heads. They spread across. They on websites. They in Google Drives, in Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint and things like that. So pulling all that data together is typically a challenge. So and there are two things. The one is if you're training specialist models, you need very specific sets of data sources and structured in particular ways. But one of the big things is using RAG, which allows the AI to utilize your own data, and that provides better insights. And the challenge is consolidating that, tagging that information in the right way, and then making that available to the AI so that the AI can respond to whatever the AI application is, whether it's a chatbot or an integration with a application, that it actually is providing the right data. But that is probably the biggest challenge, because depending on the size of the company, there can be huge amounts of data all over the show, and structuring that data around particular entities and particular things is a key aspect of it. I don't know if that helps and answers.
No, absolutely. So yes, just for our audience, I know a lot of you joined on late, and obviously our team did present some of the products earlier on, which will be on the recording. You will be able to access it over there. I mean, we got Sneha at the moment. She's sitting in Los Angeles, and it's just after 3 a.m, and she's joined us. She's going to be at our Reside conference in 3 weeks' time. One of the main presenters there. So let's talk a little bit about automation and operational efficiency, Sneha, and also the customer experience and engagement. Can you maybe share how AI-driven, strategies, lean strategies, are helping reduce delays, costs on construction projects, and maybe how it does improve? And you did show us briefly with the video how it improves communication, scheduling, service delivery on your modular prefab projects.
Yes, absolutely. So, lean construction is all about minimizing waste, right? Whether it's time, materials, manpower, and AI takes lean to the next level by adding precision and foresight to every decision we are making. So, applying AI to identify hidden inefficiencies across your project lifecycle, for example, our platform can actually detect repetitive idle time patterns, right, across crews, or over ordering based on your outdated bill of materials, or even misaligned delivery schedules. That these things can actually result in strong waste or delays. And so by constantly analyzing data across planning and procurement and field execution, AI agents can actually suggest just-in-time deliveries, labor reassignments, and lots of optimizations in your procurement strategies as well. And all of this that I'm mentioning has cost savings hidden, right, in all these cases. For example, if you use AI to synchronize your whole entire factory output with site readiness in real time, imagine how powerful that could be in eliminating your crane downtime or reducing install delays by 30%. These are kind of lean wins in manual systems that manual systems will often miss, right? But it is possible today that AI can catch these instantly, with precision and proactively, most importantly, proactively. So now instead of reacting to issues, team can course correct before problems can even surface. That smart lean which is definitely powered by AI. And again, I mean, you talked about scheduling service delays, a connected operating system that will track and predict every moving part from factory output to last mile delivery to on-site install sequencing. Using agentic workflows in scheduling, they wouldn't just update your, calendars, they'll actively constantly detect conflicts, alert the stakeholders involved and propose solutions, which is based on real time condition. It is, I mean, and it has the capability to improve communication also from your factory floor to your field teams to back office, access the same real time insights that all of these parties are seeing. And instead of chasing updates and reacting to fires, teams can be aligned, responsive, and always a step ahead and updated. So, in short, AI is enhancing not just how we plan um, um, the entire project/product lifecycle. It also helps us understand how we operate it day by day.
The incredible project management system that we can see the future, can see where we are, where we're going. Wonderful. Thanks for giving that, Sneha. And so, Jess, I mean, we got a lot of people just looking and saying, the practical ways, in terms of automation and operational efficiency. How can it help me? So where do you see, I mean, you're in the property game, you've got lots of clients, you're adding great value to them. Where do you see AI creating the most operational efficiency in asset or property management?
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, I think so. So building on from the construction focus from Sneha to the management focus of the asset, but it's similar thoughts. I mean, AI can really add value in providing scale and efficiency, which, as we know, is super important for any portfolio, especially residential. But I think a few examples. In real life examples, I mean, things like streamlined rent payment and collection. I mean, it simplifies the whole collection process, automated invoice generation, your querying, your reminders, your processing, and automating the entire lease administration as well. AI has made RPA, which is robotic process automation, effectively old news now. Okay, I mean, there's pros and cons of each. But RPA is like a rules-based. So it's good for largely structured, repeatable, repetitive data, which, as Eric pointed out, doesn't always exist within companies. So AI is better at handling variability. So anything that's complex or unstructured. And it also means that AI extends its use more easily beyond just leases to all deal documentation, so LOIs or RFPs. And then it gives you the ability to actually use the information in an interactive experience. You can interrogate it. It can carry out financial analysis. It can do scenario analysis. It can even make recommendations for you. Another area that we see where AI can help build efficiencies is improving landlord-tenant communications. So, chatbots and virtual assistants, have been around for a while, but, being able to provide instant responses and freeing up property managers' time to focus on higher value tasks, I mean, that can be done by, AI learning how to automate routing of communications. So for things like maintenance requests. And on a similar theme, and I think this is the last example I'll touch on, of freeing up people to do the higher value tasks, property valuation is another great one. So, we've got like Valos as an example, and there are others from system vendors where AI doesn't actually necessarily do the valuation, but it does work on the data gathering, the report writing, the templating, and this allows the human valuers to focus on actually determining the value. So Neil, I think I'll finish just by repeating that important point because we're seeing it everywhere, is that humans are needed not only to feed the AI with inputs, but more importantly, is to make meaning from the outputs. That's important as the human role.
Absolutely. And I don't think that'll ever disappear. It's a human role. And I think many people are so fearful. They think AI is going to take over the world. That's my job. That's me gone. Absolutely not. It's an aid. It's an addition to your team member. That's what I believe it is. And learning how to use this technology is so important. So, Eric, I mean, you're the guy, you're building all this stuff. You're the tech guy in the room, and you're probably listening to the property people, and you're thinking, wow, we can fix that. We can fix that. We could do all these different things, all these wonderful things, automation. We can automate it. We can make it efficient, etc. So, I mean, maybe just share, how is automation built into your platforms, and what tasks, and if we talk about property, we talk about property tasks, are most ripe, you think, for AI disruption?
Neil, thanks. I think, there are probably a number of things. I mean, just to break the question into a couple of parts. I mean, the first thing is sort of, what is our platform? How can it help? I mean, the basic thing is really simplifying, connecting plumbing to large language models, using different models literally by just clicking a switch, and then data gathering and allowing people to put together a knowledge base which the AI can interrogate across the area of interest that any particular app or company is dealing with. So it tries to take away all the grunt work and all the heavy, hard development work by making those parts of the AI implementation easy to do. I mean, there are a bunch of areas where I think there are big opportunities. In one area, and just in the property space, often there's a lot of form filling, gathering of data, application forms, a whole bunch of things in that particular area that often, buyers or whoever need to go through, meet regulatory approval requirements, etc. And the AIs can actually help by creating a more unstructured way of collecting that information and turning it into structured data, which will make it a lot easier for users to handle. I think something that Brian alluded to as well is property walkthroughs, but you can utilizing AI in that sense, you can provide information that won't always necessarily just be in a person who's showcasing a property or doing something. Provide information that's not always readily at hand, but just based on the question that someone is asking through a sort of a chat interface. So there are a lot of, I think, just very simple, practical areas that user experiences can be improved in probably the entire sort of value chain of property. That helps.
Great, absolutely. So just want to reach out to our audience here. If there's any questions, there is a Q&A box on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Ask any question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And we'll put it forward to our panel over here, and we'll ask them to answer, and we'll reach out to whoever the question is relevant to. Okay, so Brian, I want to bring you in here as well. Also, just on the theme of automation, operational efficiency, customer experience, and engagement. Talk a little bit about how the AI streamlines processes. We've touched a lot on that from our other panelists over here. But from a property investment or even tech expansion type venture. So, and maybe just share a little bit, how you're using that AI to personalize those journeys and interactions.
Thank you, Neil. I think what I want to just also touch on before I as much as jump into the question is to reiterate what Jess mentioned, that for a number of people, I think there's a lot of resistance when it comes to AI adoption and Proptech, and it's not here to do away with the human element. The two definitely work hand in hand. It's leveraging off that collaboration, and now it's all about accessibility. However, because the AI is there. It can be used. We can use it to better systems, to better processes, etc., etc. But I think as I sit in Zimbabwe now, the reason this actually came to mind is we also it poses a challenge to our industry and local authorities and whatsoever, in terms of, do we have the right devices? Do we have any other fundamental challenges that may be hindering the use of AI? Would also therefore need to be brought into the question at some point, would also need to be addressed, because it's AI leverages on the right data going in and the right data coming out and being read accordingly, right? But we've got certain markets or areas of South Africa or the rest of the African continent, really, that rely on a lot of manual data. We've got, deeds officers that sit maybe with rooms full of stacked papers, etc., etc., documents. Is that data that's in hard copy enabling AI to do any due diligence? Is it enabling AI to be as closest to accuracy as possible? So that's one element to look at. Then the other element is the end user. If the human element on the receiving end can't necessarily make sense of whatever the output is, then there's a disconnect there. So one could therefore ask themselves that, will AI as much as further the divide between certain markets or certain populations? And it's possibly, I think, for Eric and a whole bunch of other people in that space who are building these tools, one thing to address is the accessibility of these products to the end users to make it as much as beneficial to the industry as a whole. Now, in terms of the question itself, I mean, AI is definitely doing a lot. So I'll just break it down into three elements. I'll start maybe with the property practitioner, who is the agent or the rental agent. AI is definitely helping them take their properties to the market much easier through the use of virtual tours and everything that we've touched on. That administrative element is definitely being covered by things like chatbots. So the efficiency and turnaround times to get to leads or get to queries has definitely improved thanks to AI. Then when you go into maybe the buyer element, normally a buyer has to sieve through so much documentation, offer to purchasers, building financials when they're buying into a sectional title scheme, etc., etc. And this does take a lot of time if done manually, but now through the use of AI, rapid data processing for quicker decision making is enabled, because all the AI just reads all the necessary documents and pinpoints any crucial elements that need to be brought out. Valuation, which one of my co-speakers also touched on, in order to perform proper valuation in various market segments, is certainly something that AI is speaking into. It makes it much, much easier for us to improve our efficiencies there and also arrive at more accurate data when it comes to valuations. Then now when you look at buyers as well as investors, financial modeling, risk assessment is definitely always a big, big, big topic. For any major investor or investment team, they obviously want to measure or count their losses or reduce the losses that they're likely to make if they're going to invest into any property, be it residential, be it commercial, be it retail. And AI definitely makes it much, much easier for the predictive element that AI enables us to have, helps us prep for the unwanted scenarios a bit better. That way, we already address that potentiality of a problem occurring before we actually arrive at it. And in turn, it helps us just save on costs. Another big thing is tenant management as well as energy usage efficiencies. So tenant management, for any investment to work, you definitely want to be able to have your finger on the pulse when looking at the return on investment. And that requires you making sure that the tenant management aspect, be it from a communication element or from regular payment regulation element, you need to keep a close eye to that. Invoicing or any parties that need to be paid. Now, all those processes are no longer necessarily relying on manual input. It all can be streamlined and automated through AI, which makes it much easier to just smoothen the cycle of that whole process. And with AI looking into how a building uses energy and how it conserves energy, or any triggers that need to go off, a financial element of any huge role in that, and will continue to help people see better returns.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Brian. Sneha, I know you've requested you want to leave a bit earlier, and I mean, we're talking about 26 minutes past 3 in the morning, sitting in Los Angeles, and you came here today. Whoa. We will see you at the conference in 3 weeks' time. I just want to thank you for just coming here. But I'd like to pull this whole conversation together, and maybe you could give us your thoughts in terms of the role of AI. What is the sort of, if you had to say, what was the biggest surprise or unexpected result you've seen from using AI in your business or platform? And maybe give us your little wrap up in terms of what everybody has been inputting at the moment, because I think everybody's certainly on the same page in terms of the value that AI can bring, and we've got an audience who we have some people who are unfortunately technophobes and who are scared of using it. And we need to break through that. So maybe just collective thoughts, your final thoughts, and pulling this all together, and then I'll let you go.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So, there hasn't been one specifically area that I would say, but in general, I have been in supply chain, and this other day I was, utilizing our own software to do a root cause analysis on last month's. You do month-end financials and all of that, and it's amazing, I would say. Not surprising, really, also because I'm building something in AI, so I can totally understand the power of what this can do. But it was amazing how a task that would typically take for you to look at 5 different reports, bring it on in Excel, do some pivots and some formulas to be able to do that, literally took me seconds to be able to have a co-pilot answer that question for me, right? Another, a great outcome that I've seen is how AI has started surfacing, process blind spots, right? We didn't know existed. So, flagging last minute, purchase orders that were kind of eating up in your margins, and that turned out to be actually a pattern among a lot of jobs, right? Something that would be hard for you to catch manually. So it's not just making things faster, it's also helping us see things differently, right? Revealing what was really happening in the business, not just what was just being reported. And I think that kind of insight is invaluable. It's not just about, fixing problems, but for rethinking in ways how we operate altogether. So, kind of closing it there, it's, I don't think it's a question of if anymore. It's a question of when. And the sooner you hop on the journey, you are unlocking productivity for yourself. You are unlocking cost savings for yourself. But thank you. It was a pleasure being here. Amazing panelists. It was very nice meeting you all. And hope to see you and cross paths again.
Absolutely. Well, we hope to see you in Johannesburg in 3 weeks' time there, Sneha. So we've got Sneha Kumari. She's the CEO of Merlin.ai. Please go have a look at the website, and you'll certainly, if you want to meet her live, you will have that opportunity. Johannesburg, 9th and 10th of July at the Reside Conference. So thank you very much, Sneha.
Thank you.
You could go back to bed now. Thank you very much for that was really great insights. Thank you. That's Sneha Kumari, CEO. So I just want to sort of open up the conversation a little bit and to our audience as well. Please, just submit your if you've got a question, please submit it in the box. And I know there's been a lot of tech speak. There's been, a lot of broad speak over here in our conversation. Some people get scared to talk about, they get scared to use tech, and I think they get also scared to use it, and it's almost like I don't want to touch it kind of thing, but it's adding massive value. I've seen it. I mean, anybody that's north of 60 that could do that then you're definitely moving in the right direction. And I know in the real estate industry, that tends to be a little bit of an older generation there, and I encourage everybody to embrace it and to use it as your team member. So what I'm going to do is, Jess, I think if you can maybe just open up a little bit, let's talk about the future outlook and innovation with AI, because I think we've touched on all the advantages and that kind of thing. But let's talk about the prediction. Let's talk a little bit about the future. What is your prediction? And also, I'd like to open this up to the rest of the panelists as well, both to Eric and also to Brian, to think about, how will it redefine, and in your case, Jess, corporate real estate strategy, and let's look at, say, another 5 years, around about 2030. How does that look?
Yeah. So I saw something yesterday where it's like a dozen of the world's top AI thinkers were asked when AGI will be achieved. Which is artificial general intelligence, which is when AI can reason and think for itself. So at the moment, it is effectively still rules-based. It's following rules. It can't reason. So so the world's top AI thinkers were asked when AGI will be achieved, and over half of them said by 2030. So, which, if that's true, I don't think any of us here can even yet imagine what that world will be like in 2030. So asking what corporate real estate strategy will look like in that world is a very difficult one to answer, and that may well be the least of our worries. But that said, assuming we're still working in a world of AI and not necessarily AGI, I expect to see it fully embedded across the whole real estate lifecycle. So everything from site selection and design to operations and divestment. And what we'll see, and this will almost certainly be before 2030, is the rise of truly agentic AI. So we'll have autonomous systems managing leases and optimizing energy usage and even conducting market research. We'll have Gen AI, which is supporting real-time scenario planning and portfolio modeling with things like digital twins and autonomous buildings, which will be standard in developments. And corporate real estate strategies will obviously shift from reactive to predictive. So, agility and flexibility and the user experience and everything sort of enhances. And one last thing, actually, I think we'll also see AI playing a bigger role in ESG reporting and compliance. So that'll help companies meet sustainability goals and improving asset value at the same time, hopefully.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And, so Eric, I want to bring you into it as well. And, I think our audience is dead scared. We've got almost like 70 odd people over here that's online. And I don't think they want to ask a question. I think we've scared them off. And so I'd like to, say to our audience, if you had a question on AI or on tech that could assist you in whatever way, what would it be? And there's our first one, which came in. Thank you, Thank you, Bernard. That's very, very well. I love that question. And maybe, in fact, we will deal with it just now. So thank you. And there are different types of products out there. So Eric, coming back to you, what excites you? From your side, we've seen a change from 3D spaces, metaverse, NFTs is now pivoted towards AI. What excites you about AI's evolving role in tech and Proptech, especially with tools like generative AI?
Neil, look, I think, just pretty much summed it up. What the future looks like, we don't know. But there are a bunch of really just to keep it really simple, a lot of cool things that I've seen, and which has sort of in a way surprised me. We did an installation for a client, just put a chatbot on their website using our platform, was done very quickly. And he had a client in Russia. And the client said, well, how do I do this? And we said, well, just get him to speak Russian to the bot. Chatted Russian and bang. The thing responds in Russian. It takes all the knowledge base, automatically translates it and utilizes that knowledge base that's in English and translates it to Russian. Just that ability to open up your content, to a wide global audience, I think is amazing. I think the other thing is, the other one which what people often miss is the whole accessibility thing, where typically you've got a UI that you've got to press buttons, you've got to do all kinds of things. Being able to interact with an AI just using voice and getting it to take the actions for you, change your name, fill in forms, do all of that sort of stuff, I think is another sort of unseen benefit of AI that's not taken that widely a lot of the time. And then the other thing is within applications particularly where applications are content heavy or displaying content, we've seen companies just rip out UI out of their app because it became superfluous, because the AI was drawing data from third-party systems, from third-party integrations, and suddenly it's just uses that. So, you almost get to a point where you see UI-less apps in a completely different interface in the future from what it is. So I think, that is really it. And I think the final thing and the touch is that organizations, the way they run, the way they're structured, the way their processes work will change over time. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. And I think there's going to be a transition into that and a transitioning of existing applications into AI-based applications that adopt to a new process that exist within companies, and the way people think about organizing the companies, I think, is going to change quite radically. If you think, well, you've got all the current departments with expertise and everything else, suddenly all of that stuff consolidates into an AI, and it's more about how you use it and how you actually structure those organizations. I think it's going to be very different in the future. So, yeah, that's my little bit. I don't know if that helps.
No, excellent. And Brian, I just want to bring you in here as well, just extending on that conversation, and thank you to our audience. I'm glad you're putting in the questions there. Good questions, really good questions. And the rest of you, please, if you've got questions, we'd like to deal with it. We'd like to discuss it. So Brian, just from your perspective, what future AI application do you foresee? And you were involved directly in one, in Hoom in particular. As you mentioned, it's Tinder for estate agents. Do you foresee revolutionizing property investment and management in Africa? Maybe you can share some of that in terms of that.
Yeah.
The future application.
Thank you for that, Neil. Yeah, Tinder as a whole is doing has probably changed the landscape for a few users out there in the world. And exact same thing within the real estate space, are focused on the South African market, which is matching property sellers with agents of their choosing, just based off certain preferences, etc. Now, in terms of just what the future of AI looks like in South Africa, and I think I keep wanting to rope in the rest of the African continent as well, is definitely a lot of things are going to change. We've seen a lot of people that resisting adoption of AI as some form of defense mechanism. Look, AI coming into a market where job scarcity is already a challenge definitely has people tiptoeing around the subject, because now the immediate thought is, uh-oh, AI is going to take over more jobs, and it's going to make more roles within certain organizations redundant, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's all really perception that needs to change from us, the general public, because resisting it doesn't mean AI is going to go away. Adopting it quicker is probably the best approach in seeing how you can still make your human element, human contribution to any exercise, to any organization still remain critical. Because without doing that, then that's definitely going to fall away. But now, in terms of what AI is going to do or where any potential lies, etc., I think there's a lot of opportunity that hasn't been tapped into in South Africa and the rest of Africa. In terms of, so we are seeing, and I may be wrong, I've got other panelists that can jump in and weigh in with some real examples here, but we are seeing a lot of adoption of AI platforms from the general global landscape, and not a lot emerging out of South Africa or out of the African continent. So a thought could be, if we, and I'll speak maybe for our investor clients that are on, etc., earlier on, that they rely on localized voices or mediums to be able to help them to make decisions on acquisition of properties within South Africa. And now they're relying on artificial intelligence that's birthed outside of South Africa to help them make decisions on properties within South Africa. So the opportunity there is perhaps AI platforms birthed out of South Africa for South Africans will just be a bit more accurate, number one, or will be able to not further the gaps between certain market segments. I mean, a lot of opportunities lie in the affordable housing space. Where is AI playing a role in the township property market segment? Are they all using AI? Is there any AI that's geared at unlocking or tapping into the potential value that lies in that market segment currently? That's a question for all of us to just ponder on. And if it's already there, is that market ready for the usage of AI? Because if telecommunication systems in certain countries are still a challenge, then 2030 might not necessarily be attainable for them to be fully leveraging off the use of AI. If all the data and any historic data and documentation is still stored in hard copy, then 2030, because 2030 is what? Close to 4 years away from now. A lot of education, therefore, needs to be taken to these market segments so that, one, they don't resist the use of AI, but two, so that they're better prepared for it. And because that way AI can just tie in the entire ecosystem and have us unlock as much value from its use as possible, as opposed to only addressing a niche in our market. I don't know if that.
Okay. No, absolutely. That's fine. I want to pivot. I'm just careful of time because we've got about 15 minutes to go, and I want to deal with the questions of our audience here. And thank you, audience, for submitting your questions. I did play out to you, and I think we got some really, really good ones. And I'm going to really open it up to the floor. And the first one came from Bernard Visser. He says, do you see the buyer agents role being replaced at least partially? And I know certainly Brian Sango will have a view on that. I don't know, Jess would also being replaced at least partially in South Africa, very similar to what Homer is doing in Florida. Well, there's another product, first of all, Bernard. In 2020 March, a week before COVID, we had a Proptech event. And everybody was predicting that all these kind of agents were going to take over the world. And we never saw it, even with COVID coming along. So my view is, do you see the buyer's agent role being replaced? I'm not quite so sure, but I'm not going to be the one who's going to answer that question. I'm going to put it out to maybe Jess and also to Brian and even Eric, if he's got a view on that too.
Me,
You're unmuted. Don't worry, Jess, carry on.
okay. So I'm sure I put myself on mute.
No, you did. You did.
Yeah, I think elements of it, certainly, but elements will apply differently to different segments of the market. So where you have high volumes with more sort of largely homogeneous products, so things like residential, put it simply, residential where there's a lot of transactions going on, there's a lot of stock available, differentiating features, how many beds, does it have a pool, things that are largely kind of binary yes, no, easily quantifiable. I think as Brian, has termed it, the matching of buyers and sellers through a single platform, a Tinder, as you like, that's a lot easier in that space. I think it is going to expand, and eventually there will be a single platform that includes other sectors. So whether that's retail space or commercial space, I think they're different. There have been different attempts at it. Nobody's really built the critical mass, the scale to claim to be the single platform for property in South Africa. So I think the matching is something that is more easily facilitated by AI. And I think AI can help in the negotiation and the deal structuring, again, where there's high volume and largely repetitive characteristics. I think when you get to the more kind of specialized, the higher end, the more complex deal structuring, again, I think that's where the human element is always going to be your differentiating factor. I mean, in the same way that it is now, you can go out and buy an investment property anywhere, but to do it without a professional, you could probably be missing out on some value in either direction, whether you're buying or selling. So that's my view.
Yeah, great. Brian, did you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you for that. And just to add briefly, so I certainly feel attempts for certain roles or people or professions being made redundant will be done. We've already seen this. We've seen a lot of agencies or companies that have come in and as much as said the role of the estate agent might not be needed sooner or later. My thoughts on the subject would be no. I think the human element will always be very critical. And I speak in my defense because, yes, I need to still be, I still need to be employed, right? But the human element will definitely be critical. The market will be very competitive. So we might see a number of people fall away because now how we position ourselves and what our unique value add is as the practitioner will definitely have to be enhanced to as much as showcase what role we play in that. Because remember, we're dealing with people. The negotiation aspect would certainly still remain very humanized, but a human more enabled and leveraging of technology would put one ahead of the whole race. And then one last point that I'd like to touch on is at the end of the day, people who try make any role or exercise redundant, it's a matter of what that cost of that person or addition would be. So maybe different pricing models in terms of what the commission rate is, etc., might need to be revised as opposed to the traditional sort of margins that were charged. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for that, Brian. And Komotsu, I think it's a great question here. How can AI assist with lead generation in a world where POPIA, and it's a POPIA Act, is there to protect us and our clients because they're going to scrape all those names? I don't know whether, Eric, I don't know whether you want to comment, but I know, Jess, you will definitely have an opinion on that one.
Neil, not an area of expertise of mine. I mean, it certainly could help qualifying leads and generating leads. I think the question also steps into the whole privacy area and privacy of data and how that is protected within the AI systems. And, in that case, again, it depends on how it's done. The minute you're interacting with the AI does have the potential, models have the potential to absorb that information. And, so it's an area that one has to be careful with. But there are also ways of completely excluding the data, keeping it within a company's confines and protecting that information so that it doesn't actually leave. And if, companies run their own open source LLM models, that allows them to keep every piece of information, whether it's IP, personal information, within their own within their walled garden, if you like, and it doesn't leave. But I'll let Jess comment on the rest there. It's
Yeah, I mean, I think my answer veers along the same lines as you. And again, this is something, I spoke at the beginning of the webinar about the three big trends that we're seeing in AI in 2025. The other big trend that we're seeing supporting all of this is a really big focus on enhanced data governance and readiness. And this is really about responsible, ethical AI practices. So ethical, transparent, accountable, human-aligned use of AI. And like I said before, AI is just data with fancy maths behind it. So all of the basic data security standards that some of us have been banging on about for years, I mean, this is the reason why we're doing that. And I think AI is what's opened people's eyes to see this is why, because this is what you can do with that data. So I think really a lot of the advice is just the same as for basic data security. I mean, don't share confidential information or proprietary data with open source AI technology. I think hopefully Samsung has given us, enough bad examples of why that shouldn't be done. If you are going to purchase AI technology with which you are going to share confidential information, make sure you do proper vendor risk assessment. Make sure your contractual agreements include confidentiality agreements, NDAs. I mean, I think Brian's point about where your AI technology is sourced is actually really pertinent at the moment, because we're seeing a lot of these solutions being built out of Tel Aviv. I mean, it's a lot of the systems are being provided there. And with what's now happened over the past 5 days, that's a risk in terms of your technology platform. So, yeah, you need to take all of the normal precautions. So encryption at rest, where is it hosted? Where does it travel? Make sure that everything is designed to avoid bias, actively avoid bias and train. And there are ways to do this. And train your staff about, don't just tell them not to do something, explain why. Because I think that goes a long way to help them understand that you don't want to be the the fun police. There's actual reasons why you shouldn't put confidential information into ChatGPT, as an example.
Absolutely. No, thanks for that, Jess. So we've got a question here from Mike Footman. He says, we see slow adoption of full integration in the property sector, resulting in multiple data sets linked to separate products and services, data being key. How will this lag be overcome? And Jess, I saw you nodding sagely. And so I assume that you would like to comment on that one.
Oh, man. So for the audience, Neil very kindly prepped us with a list of questions, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun here, but one of the closing questions that he gave is, if you had unlimited resources to build one AI solution for real estate, what would it be and why? my answer is horizontal integration, because even with standard Proptech systems, before we even start thinking about AI, everyone is struggling with different platforms, different systems, different applications for different functions. We see it all the time. The lease system doesn't talk to the finance system, doesn't talk to the workflow system. There's no integration. And that leads to all the problems that I spoke about at the beginning. So, and then once you get to AI, the solutions, especially where we are right now, they tend to be even more siloed at this stage. So each solution typically only solves one fairly narrow problem. So this lack of integration is looming even larger. So I'm afraid I don't necessarily have an answer to to the question, but honestly, whoever can link everything together will get proper stickiness from their clients. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think Eric has actually got some first-hand experience from that, dealing in fact, in the real estate industry himself. So, I mean, without giving away who it is, but certainly I think we've seen that there's multiple systems out there. How do we pull this whole lot? Eric, your thoughts around that?
Look, I mean, I think, there are ways of doing it. And, the ideally, and this is what we've been trying to do with our platform, is enable people to bring in, to create a knowledge base from multiple data sources, whether it's a database, whether it's documents, whether it's HTML in a website, and pull those together and convert that into a tagged database that can be utilized by the AI. And then, the AI, the bot, or the interaction, however you want to do that, can actually then utilize that information from various sources. And, in one of our other applications, we've linked to external data sources, like it was in a human resources application, for example, where people wanted salary benchmark information for across the globe. Now, there's services that provide that information, and we hooked up their APIs to our knowledge base, and people were able to interrogate that information within their app and do that. So it's very possible to pull together all these data sources, but it does take time. They're not automatic integrations to all the systems automatically. So, I think that does pose a challenge, and those integrations need to be built to enable, pulling together all those data sources. But it's very, it's very possible, right now, actually. There's no need to really wait for something to happen, I think.
Okay, excellent. Okay, guys, I'm really conscious of time. It's been an hour and a half that we've been in conversation, and it's really been a really in-depth and conversation. But what I would like to do, I know there were two more questions. One of the questions came from Godimarang and from Bernard, and one of them is related to, obviously, building planning, working with municipalities and councils. Maybe AI, Merlin AI could be your solution there, but it's really what is the right system, I would think. But instead of going into that, what I'd rather like to do is just to ask each one of you, starting with you, Brian, maybe just to give us your final thoughts, your wrap up, maybe a little bit of piece of advice to people here on the webinar today that they could take away with them, that they could use, and in terms of property professionals embracing AI. So, Brian, maybe your final thoughts, your parting shots, and then I'll ask Jess, and then finally I will ask Eric to do his closing.
Thank you, Neil. So I think my parting remarks would be just maybe on the issue of integration. So real-time integration would definitely help, because if there's a bit of a lag, then again it could just enhance data duplicates, which would mess up the system externally. Then just in terms of my thoughts, so I think I'll speak for young professionals in the industry, those coming from previously disadvantaged communities, and just say AI certainly, for the millennials, they sit with such a unique opportunity where they've really, their careers were birthed when Proptech and all these other apps were emerging. So they fully understand them better than the others. And now it gives them an opportunity to participate in the real estate world as a whole much, much easier, because maybe for other people who are having to navigate moving from very traditional ways of doing things in Excel spreadsheets and so forth, that adoption might take a bit of time. But for the early entrant into the industry who's rather young, then understanding all these systems is much, much easier for them. I'll be very honest. Just to be able to fully learn AI and everything, I've had to be taught the ropes by someone far much younger than me, even though I've been in the industry for 15 years. So, and kudos, a good thing we have them on the team, because I just as much as I'm an expert, they were a better expert at me at using all this technology. So let's definitely look to the young ones. Let's put them to good use, add them to our teams, and it's just collaboration will birth opportunities. Let's not look at AI as though it's coming in to take over anything. Yeah.
Awesome. That's Brian Sango. He's the CEO of My Wealth Space and Chief Growth Officer of Hoom. Jess, your final thoughts, please, or your wrap up to the audience that can take away.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, so you mentioned earlier, I mean, perhaps there are people in the audience who are a bit hesitant to test out AI, and I think I would have encouragement balanced with pragmatic caution. So, and it probably links on quite nicely to Brian's very last sentence or two. So I'd say start small, start with something like automating a repetitive task, or pick an area where a chatbot could help and investigate that. Just something small and simple. As Brian said, you don't have to suddenly understand the whole background and history and maths and inner workings of AI. Pick one application and just work through that. And I would also say, and I didn't invent this phrase, but treat AI like your intern. It wants to help. It has some background knowledge, but you do need to train it. You need to check what it's doing. You need to give it feedback, because like an intern, like the more it learns from you on what you want it to do next, the more useful it will be.
Wonderful. Nice way to end there, Jess. I think wonderful. We will see Jess and you'll see Brian also at the Reside Conference on the 9th and 10th of July. Jess is Director of Strategy and Research at Cushman and Wakefield, Broll. Thank you very much for your input today. Eric, your final thoughts, your parting shots to the audience today.
Thanks, Neil. I think the first point is don't panic. The second point is don't wait. I think in some cases, AI is going to come through to you through all the big guys, and a lot of the tools that you're currently using, whether it's Microsoft or Google or whoever, AI will come to you and it'll be there to help make your life easier. In your specific applications, there are a lot of tools and a lot of things available for you to use, and get on board, with the AI thing really quickly and learn in the process. And I think, as Jess said, start with the outputs you want, find where the big pain points are in your business, and try and start with a little project or something to deal with those pain points. And that's probably the best way to get started. There are a lot of resources, a lot of tools. Just have a look around, and if anybody's interested in what we're doing, please give me a shout. I'd be happy to help or advise.
Wonderful. Great stuff. That's Eric Ninob. He's a co-founder of Wide Angle Apps, and you can reach out either to them directly. Please, I encourage you to do so, and or you can just contact us, info@rei.co.za. So anybody wants any of their input, please reach out to any of the team. So once again, thank you to Jess, to Sneha, who disappeared off at 3:30 in the morning, to Eric and to Brian. for your valuable insights and time today. It's clear from our discussion that Proptech and AI are not just buzzwords. They're transforming the property industry in real, measurable ways and opening exciting new frontiers for South African real estate. So to everyone in the audience who joined us live, thank you. We truly appreciate your time and engagement. And once again, just a reminder for next week, our next live webinar, it's also in conjunction with Reside, how public-private partnerships are unlocking affordable housing development in South Africa. And you can just register either on the link below, or you can go to the rei.co.za website, and it's on the homepage. You won't miss it then. You can register there. And so, yes, this sets the scene for the 9th and 10th of July. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Just go to resideconference.co.za if you want to come and join us in Johannesburg on the 9th and 10th for the Reside Conference. So until next time, stay informed, stay connected, and keep investing wisely. This is Neil Peterson alongside our three panelists, Eric, Jess, and Brian. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great afternoon. This is Neil Peterson of REI signing off. Thank you.